How steep should your road or should your walkway be? Let's talk about designing the gradients for roads and walkways. Starting with walkways, sidewalks, ramps, paths, etc. A good slope should be somewhere between 5% and 8.33%. All right. That top number, 8.33%, is the maximum slope for ADA ramps. All right. And we'll talk about those more later in the semester. Any steeper than that 8.33%, and you're talking about an inaccessible hiking trail, right? Now on the minimum side, the minimum slope for any paved surfaces for drainage should be about 1%. Your plazas, your flat paved areas are typically sloped in the 1 to 2% range, and we don't even notice. Let's look at these on our slope comparison diagram. We can see that the 5% is way down here, all right? And the 8.33% is right about here, right? Moving on to talk about road grades, right? It turns out that the appropriate slope of your road changes based on the speed of the vehicle. All right, so if your design speed is lower, for example here, you can use a higher slope, right, a more steep road. If your design speed is higher, you want a smaller slope, all right, a more gentle slope. For this class, we're going to assume, make a design assumption that all roads must be less than 10% slope. All right, if you give me a solution with more than 10%, I will mark it wrong. Right? And in general, 5% slope is a good middle of the road slope to choose. Can you go higher? Yes, for specific low speed and short uses. For example, here is a ramp into a parking garage. The parking garage is below ground, all right? And a 16% slope is appropriate there. Notice that you have to kind of level it out at the top and the bottom, and that's so it doesn't scrape the car as you go over the edge, all right? As an aside here, what do you do as a designer when you need to build a road or a walkway and the existing slope is too steep? It turns out you need to increase the horizontal distance, all right? And you can take a look at our equation. If in order to reduce slope, to bring down this side of the equation, all right, you need to increase your horizontal distance because that is an inverse relationship, all right? How do you do that? You make the road curve, all right, as we saw in the Lombard Street example, all right? Or you add switchbacks, right? Which is kind of even more curves, to go up the hill. And this works for walkways as well, right? So you can see a really common example here is adding this ramp, and they needed extra length because if you just went straight from this here, that elevation to this elevation, it would be too steep, right? So adding extra length, right, to get your gradient down to an acceptable level. Let's take a look at these slopes on our comparison chart to help you visualize. Down here we have the 3% slope, an easy drivable slope, all right, even at high speeds. Here in the red we have our 8% slope, all right, that's for slower speeds. And 10% would pretty much be a maximum for this class.